Over the past 2 weeks, I've realised just how important communication and climate education is. Normally, we all go about our lives barely interacting with others. But I've taken the time to stop and listen to people, find out why they are here and what they think about our planet's future. One day, a lady sat opposite me in a cafe, so we began chatting, and Valerie Woodgager, MBE, soon drew me in with her energy and enthusiasm. Here's her story.
Hello, my name's Valerie Woodgager. I live in Brecon Beacons, and I was really miffed because I wasn't able to have a party for my 80th. And I decided to, I put it on Facebook that I was miffed, and a friend in Malawi said, Grandma, we will have a planting day for your birthday. And I thought, oh, I love it. And then I decided to float it around the world, just share the idea. Moses in Uganda created an ebook called Plant a Tree for Granny, and you won't believe, but it's gone global. We've had trees from Finland to Peru, from Australia to Canada. When this conference is over, I've met a lot of people here. I'll be asking them to plant trees. I'll go through the list and try and find as many delegates as I can, and speakers, and ask them to plant a tree. When we've got it really looking good, with trees and it doesn't have to be a tree, by the way. If you live in a flat, a pot of herbs on a windowsill, that works. Maybe not as well, but it works. Every little bit that we do can help. And then what I plan to do is to send it to governments and say, look, these people all want you to do something. We can do the little things, and we are doing the little things, but it's down to governments to do the big things.
The most vibrant people of Glasgow are, of course, the locals, and it only seems fitting that we find out what they really think about the climate talks that have dominated their city.
I think it's definitely made me think more about what we're doing at home and at work and how we're using energy and what we could do as kind of a small part to the bigger picture.
Yes, it has. I do my own part for recycling and things like that, but it has opened my eyes a wee bit about what more we can do.
We should have done something about it before this, and it's now going to be impacting everybody at the moment.
No, because I'm kind of like, I think like 20 years ago, and I was more interested in sustainable forms of energy and travel, and I was a bit of a kind of black flag waving anarchist and alternative technology person. It's not anything new to me. I'm just like thinking, okay, all the young people have kind of caught up with the things they should be doing. I believe in quite a small footprint. I didn't necessarily want to have kids, but my wife said that was something we had to do, so we're only having one, so that's a small footprint. I use public transport all the time. I don't drive. I was vegan for ages, but I love cheese quite a lot.
Absolutely.
Oh, it has, yeah.
I got a bike for my 50th birthday and I use the cycle paths into town now, and I live in East Renfrewshire. They're not doing anything fast enough about cycling, so I am constantly writing to my local councillors about that.
I think it's something I've always been aware of, to be honest with you. So in terms of recycling, stuff like that, my partner's vegan. I'm not, but I suppose one thing I find interesting is how big an impact farming has, but often seems to get overlooked compared to things like pollution, which I'm not sure contributes as much.
Floods. Floods is the biggest in that street that I was in, and I'm 36 year in there. And the water come down like a river, and we've never, ever had that. Never.
Definitely, yeah. Seasons have shifted, and like watching all the documentaries, David Attenborough, etc. It's you don't realise how much it's affecting the planet, both like wildlife and the actual like natural environment. It's all really quite scary, to be honest, when we're thinking about the future generations.
Well, for me personally, I used to travel down to Leeds a lot when I studied up here. And ever since I can remember making those journeys, there was always really bad flooding. And in parts of Yorkshire and Lancashire, you've always seen lots of really bad flooding. So it's not something I can say I've really noticed myself, but I I definitely wouldn't deny that it exists. You can just see in the global climate patterns.
Oh, loads, like total freak random weather events and kind of little kind of localised things, quite interesting. And also the shift, because where we used to live in Buxton in Derbyshire, they had was it the mini ice age that they had in the, hello darling, and with the Victorians had that like mini ice age for like 20 years, and all the footage of Buxton's always got like about 15 foot of snow. And then when we lived there, the winters got milder and milder and milder over the course of 10 years. And I know that could be a varying weather pattern, but when you spoke to people that had lived there for 50 years, they were like, no, it's definitely shifting. It's wetter and warmer.
I mean, it's really big, isn't it? So we need to ban cars, but we need to stop burning down the rainforest, and we need to find a way to change our system of our economies so that we have more circular economy, that we don't just go after the dollars and to the expense of the planet.
Communicating the bigger issues clearer rather than talking about technical aspects of it, looking at how it affects people's physical landscape, as in desertification, how it will affect what we eat, crop usage, things like that are quite chunky topics that you can then drill down into.
I think that education is probably one of the really, really important things. As a teacher myself, I think that if we're getting it into the kids as young as possible, if they are aware of it and they know sort of what to do and how to live kind of the best way for the planet, then it'll be a positive thing that they'll take up through the generations.
I think they should be putting more money towards the environment. I don't think they've done enough things for the environment now. I think everything is on the back burner. It always seems to be on the back burner. They're going to do this, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, but nothing turns out, nothing happens.
I'd be interested to see more emphasis get put on things like farming and how sustainable that even is as a model in the future.
There's still the same forces and there's still the same consumption and it's still capitalism. And it's all about refinancing as well, and it's about Britain switching to a different capitalist model and a different model of consumption and a different use for technology, and how the market can then affect carbon and carbon capture.
I don't know.
I don't know either. People are trying, but there's still people obviously fighting against it, saying, oh, it's fine, things will get better. And this has been happening for ages now. And it's good that people are starting to stand up and talk about it, but you need everybody to actually take part, and that's going to take a lot of persuasion for it to happen.
I think eventually we'll move in the right direction. If for nothing else, I think a lot of things ultimately save big businesses money, and there's nothing that will persuade them more than that. What we've seen with COVID is how quickly we can change if we need to.
Because it's all hyped up now, but that dies away. It's like everything. It's like I heard at a funeral last week, you always say, I'm going to go and visit somebody, and you don't do it. And then they pass away and you say, I wish I had went. And that's exactly what it is. So that's it.
Well, I don't know. I feel like I haven't really heard too much from it. And it would be interesting to see what the outcome is and see whether it has done what it's supposed to have done.
Oh, I suppose places like the BBC, which are independent, I'm quite cynical of all political parties, to be quite honest with you. Can't help but think that everyone's slightly biased in a certain way, so I'd always want it to be put to me from an impartial point of view.
We don't get told basically everything that's happening. You hear at the end.
Politicians have just always got their own frame of reference, and they're always short term. Their career's 15, 20 years. They're all gone. They need to cash in and join a board and move on quickly. It's hard to communicate the science. I think there's more and more opportunities to communicate science well, and people are reading more, but it's just hard to break through a lot of the noise.
Oh, everything with a pinch of salt, to be honest. I'm not so much politicians, but like David Attenborough, the documentaries that they're making, I feel like the information that they're given can be relied on.
Scientists.
Yeah, I agree with that.
A huge thanks to Isobel, Lorraine, Steph, Andy, Chris, Joanna and Darcy for taking the time to talk to me on camera, and to my colleague Hannah Mallinson and my friend Julie Reynolds for helping. Glasgow comes from the Gaelic word Glasgow, meaning dear green place. Let's hope the name proves apt as the climate talks come to a close.